For more than 30 years, millions of people believed they knew everything about Tombstone. They remembered the famous gunfight. They remembered the unforgettable one-liners. They remembered the legends who walked across the dusty streets of the Old West. But one quiet truth stayed hidden behind the cameras. While audiences celebrated the movie, something much deeper was happening between the actors. One man saw details that most fans completely missed. He watched the tension, the friendships, the silent struggles, and the small moments that turned an ordinary Western into a film that refused to die. Years later, Sam Elliott finally opened up about what really made Tombstone unforgettable. And it wasn't just the action or the famous quotes. It was something no script could fully capture. And once those hidden pieces fall into place, many fans may never watch Tombstone the same way again. In the early 1990s, Hollywood believed the days of the classic Western were almost over. The movies that once filled theaters with stories of cowboys, lawmen, and dusty frontier towns no longer seemed like safe investments. Big studios were looking toward action films, thrillers, and modern blockbusters. Many people thought the Western had become a thing of the past. But a small group of filmmakers believed there was still one more great story waiting to be told. That story was Tombstone. Based on the legendary events surrounding Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, and the famous gunfight at the OK Corral, the film promised more than exciting shootouts. It aimed to show the friendships, loyalty, and sacrifices that shaped one of the most famous chapters in American frontier history. Among the cast was Sam Elliott, an actor whose deep voice and rugged appearance had already made him one of Hollywood's most respected faces in Western films. Long before Tombstone, Elliott had built a reputation for bringing honesty and quiet strength to every role he played. He wasn't interested in flashy performances. Instead, he believed audiences connected with characters who felt real. When he accepted the role of Virgil Earp, he saw more than another acting job. He saw an opportunity to help tell a story with respect for the people who inspired it. That commitment was shared by much of the cast, including Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp, Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, and Bill Paxton as Morgan Earp. Each actor arrived with different experiences, but all hoped they were creating something memorable. Still, confidence was far from guaranteed. Even before filming was finished, rumors began spreading that the production was facing serious problems. Creative disagreements, changing leadership, and constant pressure threatened to slow everything down. Some people quietly questioned whether the movie would ever become the classic its cast hoped for. Years later, Sam Elliott would suggest that audiences never saw the hardest part of making Tombstone. The greatest battles didn't happen during the famous gunfights. When audiences watch Tombstone, everything appears calm and carefully planned. The characters move with confidence, the action feels natural, and every scene seems to fit perfectly together. But behind the cameras, the story was very different. As production moved forward, the filmmakers faced challenge after challenge. Schedules became tighter. Creative opinions began to clash. Important decisions had to be made quickly, and not everyone agreed on the direction the movie should take. One of the biggest difficulties came when changes in leadership affected the production. Different creative visions created uncertainty across the set. For many cast members, it was an unusual situation. Instead of focusing only on acting, they also had to adjust to changes happening around them. Despite the pressure, Sam Elliott remained steady. Those who worked with him often described him as calm, professional, and deeply respectful of everyone involved. Rather than adding to the tension, Elliott focused on what he could control, bringing honesty to every scene. He understood that great films are often built one performance at a time, even when everything else feels uncertain. Kurt Russell carried the enormous responsibility of leading the film as Wyatt Earp. Alongside him, the cast continued working through long days, difficult weather, and constant production changes. Instead of allowing the problems to divide them, many of the actors grew closer. They trusted one another, knowing that every performance mattered if the movie was going to succeed. Looking back years later, Sam Elliott reflected less on the production's struggles and more on the dedication he witnessed. He admired how everyone stayed committed to the story, even when the future of the film seemed unclear. Ironically, the very obstacles that threatened to derail Tombstone may have strengthened it. The shared pressure created a sense of teamwork that audiences could later feel on screen, even if they never knew why. But while the production fought to stay on track, another remarkable transformation was quietly taking place. One actor was building a character so unforgettable that it would become one of the greatest performances in Western movie history. As the cameras continued rolling, something extraordinary began to happen on the set of Tombstone. Every great film has a moment when the cast realizes they are creating something special. For this movie, that moment came as one actor slowly disappeared into his character. Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday would eventually become one of the most celebrated performances in Western film history. But during filming, there were no guarantees that audiences would respond the way they eventually did. Kilmer approached the role with remarkable attention to detail. He studied Doc Holliday's background and focused on the small things that made the character feel alive. Every slow smile, every tired cough, every sharp glance across the room served a purpose. Instead of playing Doc as a simple gunslinger, Kilmer revealed a man who was brilliant, fearless, funny, and quietly haunted by illness. Sam Elliott later spoke with admiration about the level of commitment he witnessed from his fellow actors. He understood that unforgettable performances are rarely created through loud speeches or dramatic action alone. Often, they're built through the quiet moments that feel completely real. At the same time, Kurt Russell carried the story with quiet determination as Wyatt Earp. His steady leadership balanced Kilmer's unpredictable energy, allowing both characters to shine without taking attention away from one another. Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, and the rest of the cast added their own layers, creating a world where every character mattered. The chemistry between the actors could not be manufactured. It came from weeks of working together, solving problems together, and trusting one another. That trust became visible on screen, even if audiences never knew the difficult journey behind it. Years later, many fans continued quoting Doc Holliday's unforgettable lines. They celebrated the action, the humor, and the unforgettable scenes. Yet Sam Elliott believed the movie's greatest strength wasn't found in a single performance. It was found in the way every actor lifted everyone else. That quiet teamwork transformed Tombstone from another Western into a film that would survive long after many bigger productions had faded from memory. When people talk about Tombstone, the conversation usually begins with the famous shootouts, the unforgettable quotes, or Val Kilmer's legendary performance as Doc Holliday. Those moments deserve their place in movie history. But according to Sam Elliott, they are only part of the reason the film continues to capture audiences more than 3 decades later. The real secret, he suggested, is found in the quiet moments. Between the gunfights are scenes that many viewers barely notice the first time. Brothers sit together without saying much. Friends exchange brief looks that speak louder than words. A hand rests on a shoulder before danger arrives. Small conversations reveal trust, fear, and loyalty without needing long speeches. Those moments give the story its emotional weight. Sam Elliott has always believed that the strongest acting often happens when nothing dramatic seems to be happening. A simple expression can reveal more than pages of dialogue. In Tombstone, every major character carries invisible burdens. Wyatt Earp struggles with responsibility. Virgil leads with calm strength. Morgan brings hope and warmth. Doc Holliday hides pain behind humor and confidence. Because each character feels human, every victory matters. Every loss hurts. The filmmakers also worked hard to create an authentic world. The costumes reflected the period. The dusty streets felt lived in. The buildings, horses, and landscapes helped transport viewers back to Arizona in the 1880s. Rather than relying on flashy effects, the movie earned its atmosphere through careful attention to detail. That honesty has allowed Tombstone to age gracefully. New audiences continue discovering details they missed before, proving the film offers something different with every viewing. Perhaps that is why Sam Elliott believed the movie never truly grows old. It rewards patience instead of spectacle. When Tombstone was released in 1993, no one could predict what the future would hold. Like many films, it faced competition and mixed expectations. Success in Hollywood is never guaranteed, no matter how talented the cast may be. But something unexpected happened. Instead of fading into history, Tombstone slowly grew stronger with time. Fans began introducing the movie to friends and family. Television broadcasts brought it into new homes. Later, DVDs and streaming services introduced it to younger generations who had never experienced the golden age of Western films. Its popularity never disappeared. People quoted Doc Holliday's unforgettable lines. They debated their favorite scenes. Movie lovers returned again and again, finding new details with each viewing. What began as a successful Western slowly became something much larger, a modern classic. Sam Elliott watched this transformation with quiet appreciation. Rather than focusing on awards or box office numbers, he recognized something more meaningful. The audience believed the characters. They believed the friendships. They believed the sacrifices. That emotional connection kept the film alive long after many bigger productions had been forgotten. It also reminded Hollywood that great storytelling never goes out of style. The success of Tombstone proved audiences still cared about courage, loyalty, family, and honor when those themes were presented with honesty instead of exaggeration. For Sam Elliott, that may have been the film's greatest achievement. It respected both its audience and its characters. As the years passed, Tombstone became more than entertainment. It became part of American movie history, standing beside the greatest Westerns ever made. Yet with every new generation of fans, one question continued to grow louder. What exactly was the hidden ingredient that made this movie impossible to forget? As the years passed, Sam Elliott rarely spoke about Tombstone with dramatic headlines or sensational stories. Instead, when he reflected on the film, he often returned to the same simple idea. Respect. Respect for the people who made the movie. Respect for the history behind the story. And respect for the audience watching it. Throughout his career, Elliott earned a reputation as someone who valued craftsmanship above celebrity. He believed great performances were created through preparation, patience, and teamwork, not through chasing attention. That philosophy could be seen throughout Tombstone. Every member of the cast understood that they were serving the story rather than trying to become bigger than it. Even actors with unforgettable scenes remained focused on making the entire film stronger. According to Elliott, that spirit cannot be faked. Audiences may not always recognize it immediately, but they can feel it. Perhaps that explains why Tombstone continues finding new viewers after so many years. The movie doesn't rely on expensive visual effects or modern technology. Instead, it depends on believable people facing impossible choices. That emotional truth never becomes outdated. Elliott's reflections also reveal something important about filmmaking itself. Difficult productions do not always create bad movies. Sometimes the greatest challenges force artists to trust each other even more. Looking back, it became clear that the obstacles behind the scenes helped strengthen the bond between the cast. That bond quietly reached every frame of the finished film. For Sam Elliott, that was never an accident. It was the result of professionals refusing to let adversity define their work. And perhaps that lesson reaches far beyond Hollywood. Sometimes the hardest road produces the strongest story. After more than 30 years, Tombstone still stands as one of the most beloved Western films ever made. Its legacy has survived changing generations, changing technology, and changing tastes. Countless movies have come and gone, yet this one continues to attract new audiences who discover it for the very first time. Why? Sam Elliott's reflections point toward an answer that is surprisingly simple. The movie succeeds because it never forgets the people behind the legend. Instead of treating Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday as untouchable heroes, Tombstone shows them as flawed human beings. They experience fear, loyalty, grief, friendship, and sacrifice. Those emotions connect with viewers regardless of their age or background. The same honesty existed behind the cameras. The cast respected one another. They worked through uncertainty. They faced production challenges without allowing them to destroy the story they believed in. That commitment became part of the finished film, even if audiences never realized it. Perhaps that is what Sam Elliott was quietly revealing all along. There was never one magical scene that made Tombstone unforgettable. There was never one famous actor carrying the entire movie. Instead, its greatness came from hundreds of small choices made by talented people who cared deeply about their work. Every careful performance, every quiet conversation, every meaningful glance, every act of trust. Together, those moments created something larger than anyone expected. Today, when fans return to Tombstone, they often discover details they missed years earlier. That is the mark of a truly lasting film. It continues rewarding attention long after the first viewing has ended. In the end, Sam Elliott's greatest revelation may not have been a hidden Hollywood secret at all. It was a reminder that timeless stories are built on authenticity. When filmmakers respect the story, the audience feels it. And when that happens, a movie doesn't simply entertain. It becomes unforgettable.